This is the EDC meeting for Wednesday, March 19th. So what we had, this is actually somewhat of a continuation from the meeting that we had on February. And by the way, in case nobody got the memo, which was sent out by everybody, so it would be hard to miss. From here on in, the COVID era remote and hybrid Zoom meeting has pretty much expires at the end of this month, March 31st. So unless something extraordinary happens, from now on, we are going to be meeting, we're gonna be live. And I hope that helps everyone.
And before we start the meeting, William was just telling me that it was actually voted and passed in the state for till 2027.
Yes, but I don't know if it's, how quick, will that take effect by April 1st?
I don't believe so. It's only been passed in the House,
Okay.
Yeah.
so I don't think it's gone to the governor's desk.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
Until-
we'll figure it out.
yeah, until further notice, or until we hear otherwise that it has been passed,
Okay.
we'll just plan to meet on, in the third week of April. And we are going to, pretty much, the biggest thing on the agenda is here. Item 1 is a continuation of the discussion of the EDC spring event. So I spoke to Craig, he called me. So essentially, we know now pretty much what we knew the last time, that Craig confirmed that he has booked the reunion tap for Thursday, May 15th from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the EDC meet and greet. Evan has approved the budget for up to $2,500, which we all believe will be more than adequate. The food options, he did call Reunion Tap and Table, and Craig said to me he was going to meet with them in the next 2 weeks. He'll let us know, so in case anybody wants to go along, accompany him whenever that is, to review that, it would be fine, but, we'll probably do like a cash bar, as we did the last time. There will be drinks, probably soft drinks, water, fruit juice, whatever. And then a buffet style, as we had the last time, which people really like. Now, the one thing that we need to discuss is the flyer and advertising for business owners, Chamber of Commerce. Anybody have any ideas on that? Again, it doesn't have to be elaborate. William and I had met and talked about this, so we can probably put together something fairly easy, in a graphics program, and download it and, hand it out to some of the businesses to put in their windows in town. And that will help. I mean, I'm happy to hit some of the businesses on my end of town. I think, if we print it up, it shouldn't be too much once, just to print out some flyers on regular stock paper. And we can also email them out.
As a point of order thought, since we have a member on Zoom, do we need to do a roll call for the board? I just thought of it.
Oh, okay. Me too. Okay, well, we're doing this a little out of order, folks, for anybody who's listening, But, okay, so let's do a roll call. I'll start. Laura DiDio, chairperson, present.
Sean McRae, present.
Angela Achu, present.
Justin Wood, present, and
Carl
Morgan, present.
Nicole Ethier, present.
Okay, and our guest here is, who's sitting in, who's gonna be working with us, is William Blake, who is the Assistant Grafton Town Administrator.
Good evening, everybody.
Yes. So thanks, everybody, for coming. Sorry I did that a little out of order. And of course, as I mentioned, Craig Dauphiné, who is the EDC representative, who is the Select Board representative to the EDC, is unable to make it tonight, but we did speak, and he confirmed some of the things that I've just been saying.
Yep.
So, and William has, he's gonna be working with us to get some of the flyers out, and then also to look at the list of businesses. And we can, once everything is, confirmed within the next few weeks, we can then start sending out emails, email invites, et cetera. So, William, can you give us a little insight for those who didn't meet with you, which is everybody here except me, about how that's gonna work?
Yeah, so I reached out to the clerk's office. I already have the list of all the businesses in town that currently have active business lists. It also includes those that are expired.
Mm-hmm.
I got it as a PDF, so I'm trying to put it into a format that is useful to everybody, including addresses, so that way we know where things are going to go. But I think the information on that will be useful for two purposes. One, I think if they have an expired business license, that's a good place to start to find out if they're still active. That's something we talked about, cleaning up the registry that's on the website. And if they are still here, just nudging them to renew their business license.
Okay, now that's good stuff. So, do you think that the number is accurate for, anywhere between 100 and 200 businesses, 150 maybe?
That's a wide range, but I'd say, yeah, it's probably somewhere in there.
Yeah.
The list we have is like 13 pages long, so.
Oh, okay. So that's good. And there's probably some new ones, and I know you and I discussed this. There are some businesses, that have changed hands.
Yep.
Where the business was sold, like some of the health and nutrition juice bars and things like that. That's happened probably, and there's a couple of pizza places that have opened up that are new, things like that.
And in the last year, there was the Extra Mart that's basically right next to, I think it's Extra Mart, right next to Unibank.
Yes,
That's changed hands.
Post office pub
Yep.
recently.
the post office pub changed hands?
Yep, it was on the select board meeting 2 weeks ago, I want to say.
I think it's still the same family, if I remember right, but it's technically a new owner, I think. I could be wrong.
I'm not
Either way,
sure
it's a
on
new
that
owner.
point.
Oh, okay. And there's a new business in that block. What used to be Erickson's Hardware for 58 years, so there's a new business there, so.
The Legos.
Yes, the Legos. So there's a ton of people, and last time, even when in 2024, when we had the meeting in late January, it was cold, but we drew a pretty good crowd. I would say that there were probably 65 to 70 business owner attendees, exclusive, not including us on the board and a couple of other representatives like, Dave Muradian, and other people. So, one thing I would say that if anybody has any ideas, I'll send you a list of people that you might not have, that you may or may not have, William, that we can send it out to. So if anybody thinks of somebody that we want to invite, that's good. The other EDC, the other point that I wanted to make is I also have been helping out informally, as not part of any committee, with the Meals That Matter, which is a 501c3 with Lori Holden Gerard.
Oh, yeah.
I'm helping her out with some grant writing, but Lori has been making meals for the people in the community. No questions asked. If you just need a lift, if somebody is, stressed, they're a caregiver, you just don't have time to shop, you don't have enough money, whatever. And she has a group of volunteers that will donate portions of the meal. Might be a dessert, it could be breads and rolls, vegetables, whatever. She cooks them up. She has, her kitchen, and then she and other volunteers will deliver the meals on Sundays. The original intent with this was she was thinking, well, she'd have meals on a Sunday afternoon for, you know, community center, you know, at a community center in town. And, you know, could be 50 people, it could be 100, but she backed off of that because she thought, well, people might not want to do that. But this, she's really thriving with this, so she needs, you know, she's asking for donations and help, and of course, we're doing some grant writing, and at this point, you know, grant writing is gonna be a little tough.
Yep.
So I was thinking, and I haven't spoken to Lori about this idea yet, I wanted to present it to the group, because this isn't something that I don't think we've done before, but if you recall, Sean and Carl, you were both on the committee when John Allen was here, and during the COVID era, what he did was secure money out of our line item budget, when we were a line item on the town budget, to help out struggling businesses in town, like some of the restaurants and the small businesses, by giving them, you know, so many $25 gift certificates each that they could hand out to their customers, you know, to have them, you know, come in and do business. So given that many people are struggling now, and we don't think of Grafton as being a town that's food insufficient, but in fact, if you look at the municipal center here, what we do see is the food bank shelves are often empty. There are some people who are just doing grassroots ad hoc volunteering, like is a fellow by the name of Ken, who is always up at the Grafton Recycling Center, dumpster diving for bottles. And he brings in about anywhere from $80 to $150 a month, just from that he donates directly to the food bank. So Lori has gotten this grassroots effort going. And what I'd like to see in the spirit of activism and community help is if there might be some way to help her out. Now, I will invite her because she has a business. She also has Holden Interiors, her own upholstery business, which is, she's the third or fourth generation doing it in town, so she would be there anyway. But if everyone agrees that it's okay, I can help her make up a flyer just to have there so that people are aware of it, that they could take. And then perhaps at a future meeting, she could address us and we might be able to think of, you know, formalizing, you know, putting together some more concrete ways to help her. What does everybody think?
I guess I'll start from my initial thoughts. I think having her have a flyer for promoting Meals That Matter, or in general, or really letting any business in town have a way to provide information to others that come on their business, would be, to me, completely acceptable. I think that's, I would be hesitant to say to just any one business or any one endeavor, you can do it without offering the same thing to everyone else. Just to you say, oh, that's my thought, but yeah, I wouldn't be opposed at all to having a flyer or leaflet or even just a business card or whatever, saying what she's doing and to get a handout.
All right, I'm thinking as I'm talking here, but I wanna back up to creating our flyer and distributing it to the businesses, advertising our event, all right? If we get that put together, and can we, at the same time we're walking around to businesses, if she has a separate flyer and we're handing it out at the same time to say, hey, this is us, this is a resident in town doing her thing, we're just helping her distribute these flyers. By doing that, is it a double-edged sword? Are we promoting and not so much condoning, but are we, as you just said, are we helping one business over another? you know, type of thing.
I think,
Even though her, sir, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Even though she is a this particular thing is a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
Are we, I'm going
Yep.
on, building on
Yeah.
what he just said.
No, and it's a
So-
fair
Now,
point.
there's a slight difference. What I was thinking is, we would be going around handing out our flyer only. At our event is where I was thinking we'd have her
Exactly.
flyers or her
Yes.
any other business would be able to have it at the event. They can
I-
Yeah.
get
I
in
agree.
bits, that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
I agree.
And what we could do in the invitation, and I'm happy to write up the copy for the invitation, and of course, we'll send it around to everybody so we can, get input, everybody has great ideas. We can invite people to bring, their business cards or things like that, and have a bowl to put, their business cards in and take, etc.
Or we could see if Union has, I'm assuming they would, but the space to have this sort of table that they could put, people could put their flyers in a stack, their business cards in a stack.
Yeah.
It's easier than in a bowl because you don't get to see which ones you might want to take.
Yeah,
I think that this is the point of a networking event, is
Yes.
to invite
Yeah.
all the businesses,
Exactly.
encourage
Yes.
them to bring their flyers, encourage them to bring their leaflets. So I think it's an opportunity for everyone, so I think as we hand out our flyer, as long as we have information on there supporting that effort, then everybody has an
Yeah.
open chance.
And-
If we're looking at a 3-hour meeting, I think on our flyer, if we could focus on that, on what we're gonna put on our flyer for this piece of the agenda. If we're looking at 3 hours and we roughly have somewhere between 100 to 200 businesses, and it's gonna come down to who's active, who's licensed. It would be nice, I think, to make this part of like a networking, is to give people an opportunity to stand up, introduce themselves, speak, and have a time limit and hold everybody to it. Give everybody an opportunity to speak for at least a minute to a minute and 30 seconds. That would take up our 3 hours, but I think if we had some prompts, you introduce yourself. One of our questions has been, that we've been discussing at our meetings, is what can we do, EDC, what can Grafton as a community do to help support businesses? So that's one, but we could, I think as we brainstorm, if we had, at least 2 to 3 questions. One, they've got to introduce themselves and give them a question for a prompt, and just hold everybody to a time allotment, give them an opportunity. If they don't want to stand up and speak, they don't have to. But I think it would be wonderful to give that, to really make that this piece of the networking.
I agree.
They're
I
gonna
li- I
help
like-
each other, right?
Yeah, no,
That's
I
the
like,
point.
I like that idea. The first one that we had, which was the inaugural event,
Yeah.
went over really well, and it was people milling around, introducing themselves, talking, and, we didn't really have a set agenda. It was
Yeah.
hey, hi, how are you, nice to meet you. Oh, I didn't know you were doing that, so yeah, but now we want to, put a little more structure and a bit more framework, so that makes a lot of sense. I like that idea, Angela.
Cause if I'm a local business, right, and you're trying to get me to come out on a night, and it might be during my work hours, my thought is, what's in it to help that business, right? So I think if our flyer can help do that, we're creating a space for businesses to come together, network with each other, and also let a board in town know what we can do, what Grafton as a whole can do. So
Yes.
I think that this is wonderful, and thank you so much, Laura. I didn't know about this business, and I think providing this opportunity to all, we're gonna learn about a lot of other businesses. That's our goal, right? To learn about some of these other businesses
Yeah.
that might not have, they might not have the presence in the town or a storefront that's well known. So
Yeah.
that
And
would be great.
there are things going on that people can choose to donate to. So for example, different businesses in town will donate a month or a week, 1 week, what have you, for the ride and share, to bring this, the seniors around to
Right.
different places. I know
Yeah.
Tina Theroux at Theroux Dental does that quite a bit, as well as other people. But, I think we're at the point now where we're past COVID, where people wanna say, well, what is the EDC doing? So this would help. Carl, you're a business owner. What do you think of this?
I actually don't run the business, or own the business, but I am the CEO of the business. Thank you, Laura. I think, to Angela's point about the elevator speech, give them, a question, what can the EDC do for you, maybe let them introduce themselves. I think is a great way to start the network. I'm also thinking that maybe we have some type of speaker, maybe how to improve sales, or get some type of speaker to give a 20-minute speak on whatever might be the appropriate topic. That would eat up some time, give them some feedback, maybe help their businesses and whatever, maybe social media, maybe, I don't know, whatever topic might be beneficial to them as a group, to help their businesses. With regards to the other scenario, was it Laura Holden? Is it that the person?
Lori, Holden,
Yeah, so.
Holden Gerard, yeah.
The credit union made a donation to her and her outfit. I know she's the interior
Designs, yeah, Holden,
business, I guess. I think we concentrate on businesses and not necessarily nonprofits. I applaud her for her efforts, and by all means, we can she can put a flyer together to spread the word, but maybe don't gather donations from the businesses. But I don't think that. And I want to say this the right way. I don't want to have this be an EDC function or a way in which we're endorsing that particular charity, if that makes any sense.
no, and,
Or to build on that, to have people thinking that we gathered them together so that we can ask for donations.
Whatever. I'm fully behind it because
Yeah.
the credit union donated to it. But I guess, if she wants to solicit donations from other businesses, I'm all for that. But I guess I want to kind of stay away from it as an EDC, if that makes any sense.
Right.
no, it makes sense, but having, I thought, as a Grafton resident, and I've also donated too, it helps to raise awareness and increase visibility, because as Angela just said, she hadn't heard about it.
Yes.
And they have a need on a weekly basis. I mean, she's, this past week, because she's on All Things Grafton, and she has Meals That Matter on Facebook, so she's on those things. And she helped feed, she made almost 100 meals for, 25 different families. So it's worthy, but point taken that this is not our primary focus, nor should it be, or even, a secondary, but,
I guess as the individual that receives the numerous requests for donations, we probably, I think last year was over $90,000 worth of donations to different organizations within our marketplace. From Little League to softball to lacrosse to Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, food bank, homeless shelters, veterans, you name it. That's, I guess, part of being a pillar of the community as a business. On the other side of that is, I think our charge, and I think we've talked about this numerous times, is try to attract businesses. And I know all these businesses get requests for donations and sponsorships all the time. So I guess I don't want to, like I said, I think Lori's, we've donated to that. I think it's a valiant or valuable entity or valuable, scenario. But I just don't think, if she wants to come to the meeting and talk about it, great. But I guess I want to stay away from it on the EDC level.
no, I mean, that's fine. I'm just trying to be a good Grafton resident,
Okay.
and highlight a worthy cause, acknowledging that there are a ton of worthy causes out there, as you say, the Little League, the this, Friends of the Earth, whatever.
So I think we should just circle it back to, as Kyle saying, let's work on what we, the first on our agenda, so we can
Yeah.
we need and want to talk about our event, and the other, as he's saying, we don't want businesses to misinterpret our intent. As he just said, they get hit on enough, and so it could easily go against us. go against us, go against.
The spirit of the
Yes,
evening.
yes.
Yeah,
So
I get it.
why don't we just,
Yeah.
for now, we'll focus on this. We can have a side conversation with Laurie of how she wants to come to the meeting and talk to
Yeah,
people. That's up to her.
I think, well, I think we're all in agreement that we don't do anything out of the ordinary for any one business or endeavor, which includes Meals That Matter. But we do explain, hey, you can bring a flyer or a pamphlet or something and leave it, with our table, how we're gonna set it up. That, I think we're all in agreement on that point.
Yes.
The,
Yeah.
the second thing I wanted to just say that is in my mind, it seems like I might be in the minority on having this be a concern, but wanted just to share it anyway. If we do have the businesses have 2 minutes, 3 minutes to talk, potentially have a speaker, it diminishes the ability for people to pop in and pop out, especially if they want to pop in and have some chance for networking and actually talking to people. Because they see people essentially lining up or doing brief speeches, they might go, well, I don't have time to wait for that to be done to talk to people, and they might leave. That's one thought I have in my mind. I don't know if it's a concern to actually be, to have an issue with, but it was a thought I wanted to share.
Right. So when people do the introduction, they say, hi, I am John Smith. I own such and such welding company. We specialize in aluminum welding. Someone in the group might say, I didn't know that. I saw your sign, but I didn't know what you did.
Yeah.
I think that's what the introduction should be, not
Yeah.
a little, as you said, a spiel, so to
Yeah,
speak.
and people can, a lot of people don't like to get up and speak.
Mhm.
So in lieu of that, they could bring their own little flyer and hand out, what have you.
Yep. And like I said, I don't have any reason to not to move forward with planning that as far as people speaking and whatever. It's just
Yeah, no, it's a
Just a thought.
it's a valid point, Justin. Nicole, we haven't forgotten about you. You're just, you've
Yeah,
got
I
to, you're,
think if we do the intro part, just near the beginning of the meeting, then people who can't stay long will still be able to introduce their business and, stay for a drink and then leave. But if people want to stay longer, they can. I think that's what we did last time. We did the intros like near the beginning of the meeting or the event.
yes. Yeah, so that will work. And I'm guessing that a lot, you might have maybe 15 or 20 people who want to get up and talk and others who don't. But if we give them the option ahead of time of bringing a business cards, stack of business cards, a flyer, that works.
Yep.
Okay, so, that's the next point. Hopefully, Craig, will get back to us in the next couple of weeks. He'll let us know when he's going over to meet, at Reunion Tap and Table ahead of time, in case
Right.
anyone wants to go with
Yeah.
him, and we can email about if anybody has any ideas about options that they have for food, but, that part is pretty straightforward.
I think a couple of things. We need to, shall we say, iron out the flyer and how we're gonna distribute it. If we're going to, obviously it's social media, you put it on social media, and the town websites, whatever available or applicable rather. And then if we get a physical flyer and a list of businesses, we can, at one of our meetings, hopefully with enough time, we say, okay, you take 10, and we break it up, or how, so that's something, I think that's important, how we're going to physically get the flyer to the businesses.
Yes.
And then obviously, we need to know, what business, we're not gonna obviously hand it to Wyman Gordon's or Cumberland Farms, but maybe we can put it on a Cumberland Farms window type of thing, so.
Yes,
So that's a couple of things that I'd like to see, what are we gonna put into the flyer? How do we wanna word it? And then again, how are we gonna hand it out?
okay, so first order of business, what are we going to include in the flyer? I can take the lead and write some of the copy and then send it around to all of us for, to see if what we want to add, okay? and then reach a consensus about what will be included by the next meeting, because we want that.
May I suggest, because of open meeting law and the desire to have something done by our next meeting,
Yeah,
that we have a subcommittee that we decide to do that in time for our next meeting, so it could be you plus any number of us that wanna do it, but less than a quorum. That way there can be worked on, and then, you know, people that might feel strongly would be involved in it, and then the rest of us still won't be dealing with it until the next meeting because of open meeting law. That's my suggestion.
okay, so then the next question is, and by the way, I don't have to take the lead, I'm just volunteering to do so. I don't wanna look like I'm usurping
no, well-
anybody and say, I'll do it, you know,
Right.
so is there anybody who wants to take the lead?
I'll be honest with you, my graphic design is terrible.
Well, I'm not so
I
much
mean,
doing the graphic design, I'm a wordsmith,
Yeah.
you know, but
Mhm.
it's not that hard to get a template together
together, yeah.
and, you know, make it
Mhm.
look nice, you know.
Right.
Even with templates, I'm bad. So I'm out on that point.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so I can take lead if everybody wants, or if somebody else wants to take lead.
is it Nicole?
Yeah, Nicole.
She did it last time. I believe.
No,
Did you put the flyer together last time or what?
no,
Oh,
John Allen did it. I don't know if John did it himself or,
oh, that's right
if he
too.
had somebody do
Okay.
it. I'm not sure.
So it really, it would just, I think it needs to be just basic. Grafton EDC is sponsoring or hosting a Grafton business owners networking.
A spring meet and greet.
Right, right.
Yeah.
At such and such time, put the date and time, and I don't think we need
No,
put a lot of thought and time into it.
Madam Chair, if you're looking for just a basic flyer like that, I think that's something we can take care of in my office.
Okay.
If you want to put together more substantial content for an article on the website, which could tie into updating the EDC page, I think that would be great, because there you can flesh it out as much as you want. You're not
Okay.
confined to a one-page flyer, it can be 1,000 words if you'd like.
Yeah, and we could provide a link on the flyer
Yep.
Yeah.
to the website and drive people there, and
Okay.
also put it on social media, so that's a great idea.
And just one more thought with that, going back to the introductions and the question of how can EDC help businesses, perhaps you link to a form on the website of, if you can't attend, answer here,
Yeah,
something of that nature.
yeah, just check in, tell us who you are,
Yeah.
what you'd like to see. Great idea, William.
And the only thing not mentioned out loud that we should have on the flyer in some way is that we are providing some food.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, you gotta
Yeah,
have, you gotta
refresh.
have the little champagne
Yeah.
glasses in the bottom corner.
yes,
That's a graphic.
You know, providing food, plus a cash bar or
You say
something.
cash bar,
Yep.
Yeah.
food will be provided, cash bar available.
okay, so I'll go and look up what John did last year and see how we can, piggyback off that and, expand a little.
So I think the question is then, is anyone on this committee wanting to work with Laura to, and staff to create this, or?
Don't say it like that, does anybody wanna work with Laura?
Well, does anybody want to be involved in the design and process before our next meeting, which point we'll probably need to be taking our next steps anyway?
Yeah, I mean, I'd give it a shot, I mean,
Yeah, I think that this is fine. It sounds like it's Laura, Sean, and William, so
Okay.
we've got
Okay. Works
for
seven,
me.
so
You're
three
on.
of you as a
Yep.
subcommittee.
Okay, so that's great.
I will
And
say,
Well,
William
you're
didn't
not
tell
on,
us-
I
yeah, I
know,
know.
I'm
William didn't
sorry,
tell
I'm
us to
sorry,
do
I'm
that.
sorry, it's okay, it's all right, so there's two.
Well, we'll be
two
going
hours.
to William for
right.
Yeah,
administrative support.
And Fiona did say she had a copy of John Allen's data.
Yep.
So the previous flyer will probably be in there somewhere. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
don't know
actually, it was sent to me as
Yeah.
well. I just have to go into all the files, they downloaded them and, I have them on my home computer.
if- Okay.
But we can do
It
that.
might have been you that said it, then not Fiona. I could be misremembering.
Okay, so what I will do is get that, start working on that in the next week, in the next few days, and get something to everybody within the next
So,
2-week time frame.
so how many days or weeks do we actually have before this happens?
before the event
Event, yeah.
happens. The actual event is May 15th, so we have
I can count.
No, I had-
7 weeks, I would
Okay,
think.
I had, for some reason, the seventh or eighth, okay, May 15th. So, really, if we're only gonna meet in 4 weeks, that's we're kind of tight timeline. I think, anyway.
Yeah, well, as you say, we're not doing War and Peace here,
You're right.
you know?
Okay.
So it shouldn't be, it
It's
shouldn't,
8 full weeks, so.
yeah.
All right, okay.
and
But yeah, point taken that we want this finished and signed off on by the next meeting so that
Yes.
we have a full month to get, distribute the
Distribution
flyers
and-
and put the
Right.
stuff up on the webpage and
Mhm.
put it on social
Right.
media so that people know it's there.
Exactly.
I mean, people have a hard enough time remembering going to the kids, picking the kids up from soccer and Little League and,
Yep.
you know, what meetings
Okay.
happen in town, select board, FinCon, you know,
All right.
school board, what have you, so this'll
And-
give us some time.
All right,
One other thought on the flyer that might be good to have, just because of technology awareness of some people, is a QR code, so they can scan it with their phone or device to get to the website that we're putting up.
Okay,
That, I'm assuming you guys know how to do that, but no, I can certainly help at least figure out how to give you information.
No, we can do it.
yeah, that's
I
good,
thought so.
Yep.
that's good. Yeah, especially for the younger the younger business owners in town, and there are a few of them as well. Okay, any other thoughts? Anybody else want to provide any input on this item?
Sounds like a plan. I like it.
Okay, Nicole?
Yep, sounds good to me.
Okay, so then, if everyone is in agreement, we'll move to the next item.
mm-hmm,
Fiona Coughlin, the town planner, and myself both received, communications from, the Worcester Livability magazine. In years past, we have advertised, I have a copy of it, and I can pass this around. And it basically, they've got a digital edition, they've got the online magazine, etc. And, Sean, I know you were here, and, Carl, you were also here when we voted, a couple of, 2-3 years ago, when we had a line item in the budget, and there was money that we left, needed to spend. So we we did pass the motion at the time. I'm thinking this is 2022, 2023, something like that.
Mhm.
John Allen took care of this.
right.
So we did advertise in the magazine. They do have a digital thing, and if you saw on the meeting agenda, Matt McWhorter, who is the marketing manager, he contacted us about renewing for print, digital, and online editions. And he did have a schedule of, monies, but since we are not a line item in the budget this year.
Right,
And since money is tight,
yeah,
and I myself, I'm all for advertising, but I'm not sure how that best serves the EDC in the sense that it is difficult to quantify the
Right.
return on investment
Exactly.
for the cheapest, the least expensive option for this is, $4,400, I think.
yeah,
The most expensive is 10,000. Now, obviously, that's their list pricing.
mm-hmm,
As you can see by the size of the magazine, which has considerably shrunk,
yeah,
any ROI would most likely come from digital editions, etc. But again, it's hard to quantify. So, given,
Almost impossible, Laura.
yes,
it is,
well,
Yeah, well, I don't even know why, I think at the time it made sense, but I haven't heard of this particular published magazine or digital presence at all since you brought it up from the previous couple of years ago. So I'm in agreement. I don't think we should.
yeah, it's,
I don't
I,
think, right,
and
This is-
by the way, when I spoke, Fiona passed it on to me, and her opinion, and it was strictly her own personal opinion, since she is not a member of the EDC, but she's a town planner, is that she thought it was a non-starter. I had responded to Matt McMortar's email, just as a perfunctory response, basically saying I would bring it up at the EDC
Right.
meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm bringing it up, but
So,
I'll looking at the page that's in here, this feels like it has a slight overlap with us, but it's in a way, it's the town's, as a town, preference on what parcels and things could be developed that are not yet developed, that we don't wanna see developed. And this magazine might be a venue to get that interest in and get, oh yeah, we have this, available thing that might work out for us, great. But at the same time, I feel a lot of businesses that might be looking to do this kind of, develop on one of these parcels would most likely already have the information on, what towns might they be interested in, contacting the town, is there anything available that fits these requirements, or looking on their own sites. So I
well,
think,
the ad could be anything, to put this,
when I was,
to provide context, at the time we were doing this, where we were just coming out of COVID, one of the main marketing thrust, if you will, or main points was Grafton is open for business.
yeah,
And there was a lot going on. You remember we had many discussions regarding what was going on over at Tufts and et cetera. So,
absolutely.
So-
And one of the, where I was going with that too is, I think if it's to be an advertisement like this, that is just, in this one that you showed me, I think that would be likely a, planning department line item to say that advertising makes sense, or town administrator's office saying that advertising makes sense, and the town to incur that as themselves. And then if we are to do something like this, I would want to know, what are we advertising that makes sense to be having this type of program, like in a year in this magazine. And I don't see anything that would make sense for that. In a way, if we were hosting these events every month, that might make sense for us to do, but we're not, and we don't have the budget to do that every month.
well, again, going back to 2023, and I know Nicole, you were at we did have a luncheon over on the Tufts campus, where we invited a lot of prospective people, current business owners in Grafton, but also outside people. And that was very, very well attended. But again, that was 2023, 2022. And I think the idea was to try and get that office building filled. That was one of the main
Yes.
thrusts, so, that year. But, it's now 2-3 years later, so.
Yep.
Okay, so do we want to take this to a vote that we are,
I will move that the EDC does not pursue an advertisement renewal.
Is there a
Second.
second?
second.
okay,
All in favor?
I,
I think we should
You
do a roll call.
gotta do
Roll
roll call.
okay, yeah. Carl Moisen,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Angela,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
I.
Okay.
Okay, terrific. Now, the other item of business, EDC business first on the list, was we were originally, as part of what we had talked about the beginning of the year, the January and February meetings, trying to line up guest speakers to come in. Craig Dauphiné was trying to line up Craig Blazel, who was unable to make this evening's meeting, but he's going to, he is tentatively set right now. He said he would attend our April 16th meeting. So, that's that. So that's the only thing that I have.
I had an individual from the Marlboro EDC And he was willing to bring the executive director of the Marlboro EDC as well as a guest speaker. So he mentioned it to me a couple of days ago. I think we had tried to get him on the calendar for January, but he had to cancel. So, you know, if we could get him on the calendar, when do you think our next meeting would be? May? After the
Well, I mean, if they could do, I mean, I can go back to Craig, because it seems like Craig Blazel, I think he's from Westboro.
Okay.
He was willing, you know, he didn't absolutely have to be here in the April meeting. So,
okay.
either one works for me.
I can ask him if the 16th works, and maybe I can get back to you and confirm either way. So
Okay,
maybe correct.
And
No, I can.
yeah,
All right.
yeah, and I would say having someone come on any day makes sense. I think two in the same day wouldn't, but otherwise, I think the idea, since Craig's in touch with one, Carl's in touch with the other, and they can both work through you together, and it's still less than a quorum. So I don't have an issue on that front, and then we can have that straightened out. And whoever is decided to be coming for April, it can be on the agenda.
okay,
Sounds good.
okay, terrific.
Yeah.
And if anybody, while we're talking about this, going forward, if anybody has ideas for future people going into, the summer time frame, that works too. But for right now, we'll work with Carl and Craig to set up who the next person is gonna be.
Okay.
And Angela, one quick question. We are going to have the event on May 15th, which is a Thursday night. Okay, do we want to schedule the May meeting of the EDC? I think it makes more sense to have it after the May 15th thing. So I think May 21st for our May meeting?
Yeah, to
That's
maybe debrief, if you want, lack of a
Yeah.
better
May
word.
21st is the immediate week after, and
Yeah,
I'm free. And if something makes that not work out, the 28th is also still fairly close.
yeah. That week though, we're sort of getting into close to, when is Memorial Day? Is it the 26th?
26th.
26th, yeah, so there might be people away, but, so tentatively,
What night is the 21st?
It's a Wednesday.
A
21st is a
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, okay, all right, because I'm gonna have VAC meeting 22nd, I believe.
okay.
We'll see.
Can we take a roll call right now for the 21st? Meeting to have it on the 21st.
We can. Meeting dates are usually chair's discretion anyway, so we don't even have to do that.
Okay,
But we can if you prefer it.
well, does anybody have I guess, things come up, so if somebody has a conflict and can't come at the last minute,
Yeah,
whatever, so we'll see, and there's always the possibility if, it's voted on, that we might still be able to have remote meetings.
Yeah.
Or hybrid
Okay.
meetings. Okay, but right now, let's sort of tentatively pencil that in for the May 21st. And we can change it if need be.
okay, sure.
Okay, so then, the only other thing is, does anybody have any other business or point that they would like to raise?
So just going back to the speakers, just an idea. Is there any feeling on potentially having somebody from the CMRPC in? The town works closely with them on a variety of projects, and they do have an economic development branch. I don't know what they offer, but I could certainly look into it if that's
Okay.
something the committee's interested in.
Yeah, could you, just for the sake of this being recorded and somebody who might watch it later,
What's CMRC?
What-
That is the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission.
Mhm.
So we do a lot of work with them specifically in the planning sphere. I believe they're currently doing our comprehensive master plan.
yes, the
Yeah.
master plan.
But they touch on a couple of different areas. Economic development is one of them. Again, I don't know what they specialize in and what they might be able to offer, but
Sure.
I'm certainly happy to reach out and find out.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so-
the town earns a lot of hours from them as well when it comes to like them participating, for us, because Bob Hassinger's our delegate to them, and people that participate in CMRPC meetings and situations are, the towns get hours from them, from CMRPC for doing that, and Bob is on a lot, he's been chair for a lot of things over there too, so.
Which brings up an interesting point, because CMRC reps and the Mass Development Plan, they were at our meet and greet in 2024.
Yep.
So it makes sense to invite them to the meet and
Mhm.
greet
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
So the last point of business is that Natalia and Fiona sent out information from the town planner's office about, hey, they wanted our input
Yep.
on the master plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that we should
Make
put
it,
on the agenda
Mhm.
for the April meeting.
I would,
I think we might need it before then.
yeah, I would say it might
Yeah.
need to be in before them for what they're looking for, because, I know it's a preliminary, but it's not out,
Yeah.
and technically, only the planning board needs to vote to approve the master plan, but the planning board can also choose to try to send it to the town meeting, for a formal vote that
Mhm.
way, but, by the,
when's the, go to print date on that, on the master plan?
I don't think there's one on paper, so to speak. I think, planning board could choose to vote late this year instead of, earlier, but I
Mhm.
think there might be a date that ends the CMRPC's involvement in the master plan. So
Okay.
that would be set effectively at a different
Okay,
date, but
sure.
Fiona would,
Okay.
I'll
Fiona would
give-
know for sure.
All right, I will reach out to Fiona tomorrow
Mhm.
Okay.
and then just send around an email saying, here's when we have to have
Right.
Yep, that makes
the-
sense.
the feedback for, and
Okay.
then we can do that.
Sure.
Anything
Alright.
else?
I think we got a bunch
Move
of-
to move adjourn.
Second,
Okay,
All in favor?
aye,
Roll call. You
roll
gotta-
call. Oh,
you
I
gotta
have to
the
do
names.
roll, I feel like it's the Mouseketeer.
Yeah.
Sound off now. Okay, aye, second, okay, Carl,
Aye.
Nicole,
Just say yes. I think she fell asleep.
okay, Angela,
Yes.
Aye.
Sean,
aye.
aye. Okay, well, that's it. Thanks, everybody,
Alrighty.
for coming out, and, good meeting. And by the way,
We'll talk
it's
soon.
8:00 on the dot.
Wow.